Hi everyone, today is Thursday, September 2nd, and I'm pleased to present our Bay Area real estate market update. It has been a crazy summer, and normally in September we're seeing the highest inventory levels of the whole year, and this year is no exception, but there's a twist. I can't wait to show you. Hi guys, this is Michael Saldana with the Amanda Bang team and the Real Estate Experts. Today is Thursday, September 2nd, and I have a great market update video to show you. Normally in September, we see the highest inventory levels that we see throughout the year, and this year is no exception for the most part, but what you'll notice is that the inventory levels, while they are high, it is still extremely low compared to prior years, and I'll show you all of the details. In addition to that, the Fed chair recently announced that while they were thinking about raising rates by the end of the year and inflation is strong, they're actually going to wait until employment gets better before they start thinking about raising rates again. So, take it all with a grain of salt, but maybe that's a sign that we are in the clear for at least the next 6 months. Let's get started. Okay, first up we have San Jose single family homes. Median list price $1.299 million, price per square foot $799. Those are important numbers so that you can have an idea of what the average home in San Jose costs. $1.3 million, $800 a square foot. Median days market is 7, so this is down a little bit. I think the past couple weeks it was closer to 14. We did see a little bit of a lull in terms of competition in like the middle of August, but we noticed just in the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot of competition. We just had a story this last weekend, a townhome in Santa Clara, 17 offers and $100K over list price. We unfortunately did not win. We'll get to the next one. Okay, so then another important statistic to look at is the price decrease and price increases. And what I like to see is that because we're seeing price increases, that means the buyer pool is not so deep that we're getting that competition of 5 or 10 offers on a single house. What I said earlier was actually we're seeing a lot of single family home competition in Sunnyvale and Santa Clara, partly probably because the inventory is so low, but you'll notice in San Jose, while the inventory is at low levels, 398, that's a lot more. San Jose is a totally different market. As you can see, we can take a look at over time, median list price has steadily increased, which is good. Price per square foot also steadily increased, meaning your homes are going up in value. And then I think today, mostly we're going to be talking about these inventory graphs because it's so important. Every year in September, if you look at past years, we've always seen a high watermark in September. It kind of coincides where summer's winding down, people are going back to school, jobs are starting to pick up a little bit, and people are getting busy. And what happens is people like to list their houses in the summer. It's beautiful, you've got some time, put your house on the market, and then buyers are also similarly motivated to try and get their kids into new schools by the new school year or have something ready to go by the 1st of January, perhaps. So it's pretty common to see a high point in inventory, but the one thing I wanted to point out is that our inventory level is 398, which is much lower, 30% lower. Last year was at 591, and even the year before was almost 790, 7-day average, or 890-day average. So our inventory level in San Jose is much lower than what we've seen before, and I think this will be a high watermark. I don't really see a lot more inventory coming to the market suddenly. I think maybe the next couple weeks we'll see more inventory come to the market. So in past years, you kind of saw this plateau where the 7-day average kind of spiked up and then plateaued and then went down. Spike up, plateau, another spike and then back down. So it's kind of a spike up, I think we'll have a plateau, and then it'll go back down as we step into the spring. We'll see. Taking a look at the market segments, what's most important here is that I think actually this week more houses were listed than were sold. So that's a sign that inventory is increasing still, but the 7-day average can be a little bit volatile. So that's another thing I wanted to highlight. With so little inventory in some of these markets, we're actually going to see a lot of volatility in pricing. I think with San Jose, because it does have 398 homes, it's going to have significantly less volatility. But in some of the cities that we're about to cover, like Santa Clara and Sunnyvale, they have less than 100 homes, less than 50 homes in inventory. So I think that the strained inventory is going to create much more volatility, especially the cities that have big buyer pools right now. And I'll show you how you can see a big buyer pool. And I kind of covered this already. Here, you see these price increases. That indicates that the buyer pool is not so deep that you're getting 5 to 10 offers. You want that price increase because You started at 700, you want 800, but you don't have 10 offers to get there. That's where those price increases come from. Okay, taking a look at the next area. By the way, I need to try and get this video done in 10 minutes. That's my new goal. Last week's video was longer than 10 minutes. Okay, San Jose condos and townhomes. Median list price 749,000. Price per square foot 636. Median days market 14. So it's not 7, but it's actually so similar to single family homes. We saw a little bit of a lull in the market in the middle weeks of August. So in here we had 21 days on market, but now it's back down to 14. Buyers are coming back. Price decrease 19. Price increase 4%. So the fact that we're seeing price increases, meaning that the buyer pool is starting to thin out a little bit. Let's see, inventory also fairly low. Let's take a look at what inventory looks like. So this graph is a little bit less pronounced actually. We didn't see quite the same inventory come back for San Jose townhomes and condos like we did with single family homes. So actually inventory, I would almost say similar to single family homes, this is probably going to be about the high watermark that we see for the year. Just like last year we saw a spike and a plateau, a spike and a plateau, spike, and we're in the plateau right now, but our plateau is 240, 250 units of inventory compared to about 360 last year, and then up to about 460 in 2019. So this is going to be interesting. So what I said, the low inventory here, this is much lower than we've seen before. There's probably going to be more volatility with these. Also interesting to see, so we're seeing more inventory come to the market and then less is being absorbed. So that is kind of typical. Up until and through September, we'll see increasing inventory. So that all makes sense. All right, let's go to the next city. We're looking at Sunnyvale. We have a median list price of $1.89 million. Dollars per square foot is $1,177. Most importantly, median days on market is 7, so it actually jumped up to 18 and 11 days, median days on market, indicating a little bit of a slowdown during the middle weeks of August, but sure enough, right now, end of summer, start of school, we're back at 7. That means high competition. Relatively low price decreases and price increases, indicating that the buyer pool, so low price increases means that the buyer pool is still pretty deep, that you're getting some bids up, and then a little bit of price decreases because the market isn't as super hot as it was in the first half of this year, but demand is still extremely high, primarily because of inventory. Inventory is at 34. Let's take a closer look at this, at how inventory has been looking. So, similar to San Jose, we're at September, just like previous years, we're seeing a high water market inventory. One nice thing about the Sunnyvale market is our inventory level is pretty similar and consistent to what we've seen in prior years, 50, and then now we're at about 40. And what I can say is the pricing and the competition and the volatility actually is very similar to what we've seen in previous years. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we just had reports from 3 houses, where 1 house in Santa Clara, townhome in Santa Clara, and then 2 more nearby sold with 10 or more offers on it. So, that's just a sign from the people fighting on the lines that there's still a lot of demand in the Sunnyvale market. So inventory at 34 is very low, and let's take a look at the inventory over time. So just like the other markets, in September, Sunnyvale single family homes, we're seeing the high water mark, but the nice thing or the interesting thing is that the high water mark we're seeing this year of about 34 or 47 on the 90-day average is fairly close. Back in 2020, we had 53 for our 90-day average around this time, and about 63 as a high water mark in 2019. So what I would say is that because, I think that 2021, the winter will play out similar to previous years, at least for Sunnyvale single family homes, because we're seeing similar inventory levels. Competition is similarly fairly high. I'd say last year and even the year before, it was fairly typical to talk about Sunnyvale single family homes going for 10 offers or more and 100K plus over list price. So I would say, if anything, it's a pretty reliable indicator. We'll see a similar year. One thing I will note is that, we saw this huge spike in inventory in July. So I wonder, maybe if there are more magical spikes in inventory, we could see pricing go down. But I don't think that's going to happen. Sunnyvale is definitely one of the most desirable cities to live in, partly because of its commute. And it's interesting to kind of think about that interplay, because for a little bit in time, a lot of people were talking about going back to work. Google and Apple initially had go back to work dates that are coming up pretty soon, but then in the past month or so, I think a lot of those companies have started to retract those. So a lot of moving pieces here, but I think the biggest indicator is that inventory is similar to what we saw in previous years. Competition is still strong, demand is strong, so I think we'll have a competitive winter. Looking at the condominiums in Sunnyvale, median list price $987,842 per square foot, 14 days on market. Similarly, it was a little longer, 28 days on market in the middle of August, but demand's picking up. Interesting to see the price increases. There's much higher percent of price decreases and price increases. So that indicates both less competition and less buyers, as well as less overreaching prices. Similarly, inventory is also very low at 46. Taking a closer look at the inventory graph over time, contrary to any of the graphs we've looked at, we actually have a higher inventory level of condominiums and townhomes for Sunnyvale than we've seen in previous years. So last year the high water mark was 50. Right now our average is 53, but we did have 74 condos and townhomes on the market in the week of July 23rd. So kind of interesting, I'm very curious to see if, maybe we have more inventory coming back this December or this winter because people are confident about where we are with the vaccine or where we are with the economy. And maybe if we don't, if that happens, then yeah, we will see a little bit of a release in the pressure on pricing, which is probably going to be good for sellers and buyers. But I think on the other end of the spectrum, if we do see increased competition, it's going to keep things, it's probably better for the sellers, but also, if you're a buyer and you need a home, with interest rates where they are, what I talked about the Fed, they're not going to be, I don't think they'll raise interest rates before the end of the year, but then as the economy recovers, as jobs get better, which hopefully they should, next year, that's when we'll start seeing some rate increases. Only time will tell. Okay. Taking a look at the new versus absorption, I think similar to the other areas, we have only, there's only more taken off the market in the bottom quartile, but for the most part, inventory is increasing. There's more new homes than absorbed. All right, taking a look at the next market, we have Santa Clara single family homes, 1.45 million median list price, a little over $1,000 per square foot. Median days market is 14. Interesting to see that actually this has been consistent for the past 2 weeks. And also interesting, actually, we have a lot of price increases, 12% price increases. That indicates that there's not a lot of buyers for at least single family homes. Interesting. Let me just look. It's really funny. I told you that funny story earlier about how we had 17 buyers for a Santa Clara townhome. There's 0% price increases, indicating a very deep buyer pool of 17. But I didn't hear any similar stories about Santa Clara single family homes. And you can see 12% price increases. That indicates a thin buyer pool. Not a lot of buyers, not enough buyers to bid that price up. So the sellers need to raise their starting price. Taking a look, median list price over time, this is Santa Clara single family homes. So kind of not a lot of movement, but this number's already at 1.5 million. So it was 1.5, 1.4, 1.5. So taking a look at price per square foot, a little bit of change over time, but we are reaching new levels. That's good. And then inventory, I think this is going to be the most important graph. So good to see we're similar, a little bit lower than what we saw last year and a lot lower than what we saw in 2019. So that'll probably indicate with lower inventories, we'll see a little more competition. It's interesting in the lead up to September, you'll see it's very similar. You have these spikes up and then the darker line, the blue line is a 7-day moving average. The dashed line is the dashed line is a 7-day moving average, so that shows volatility. The 90-day, the dark line is the 90-day moving average, so that kind of shows your average movement. But you see the 7-day average spiking up, 90 days keeping up with it. We have the crossing point right here, which indicates a plateau, but we'll see in previous years, at least in this market, we did have multiple crossing points. So we'll probably have a plateau go through the winter. Looking at new versus absorbed, it actually looks like there are more homes taken off the market, so competition is increasing in this area. I know I just said that there wasn't a deep buyer pool, but it appears that there was a lull and now they're coming back. This is very common, so we'll see how that all plays out. Taking a look at Santa Clara condominiums and townhomes, 898,000 median list price, average days on market of 14, down from 21 in previous weeks, 24% price decreases. So actually that's the first sign that the market's hitting the limit, is the price decreases. The second sign is price increases, but it's interesting, no price increases here. Like I said, because we had a townhome, 17 buyers, I don't know what it is. I don't think it was this busy last month, but that's, yeah, that is definitely something to look at. Inventory 41, so similar to the market's very low levels. Let's take a look at the inventory over time. So we have a lot less inventory than we saw last year, 35 on the 7-day average versus a peak of about 84 last year. But we're actually kind of at a low right now. So let's look at the 90-day average, 45, 90-day average back then. So we're at half. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 45 versus about 72, so it's a little more than half. Yeah, so I wonder, so this is kind of similar to what we saw in 2019. So this is kind of an extended plateau that started early, inventory tried to go up, didn't, cool down for the spring and early summer, and then really heated up in the summer. So maybe we'll see something similar to that play out this year. Big thing is that there's a lot of new homes on market, but it kind of goes with that. I think a lot of homes were taken off the market in the past 2 weeks, so it all makes sense. All right, moving on to the last city. This is Campbell, California. Average home price $1.649 million. Dollars per square foot, 1,002. Median days market of 32. So it's interesting to see that in this market, that number has been increasing steadily, which means that competition and bidding wars have been decreasing. 19% price decreases, 0% price increases. So it's interesting to see that 0% price increases, especially because we just looked at that last market where they had 0% price increases, but I would tend to believe that that is tied. Actually, if you look at this, inventory is super low right now, okay? So 0% price increase, that's probably tied to the inventory being super low at 16. Like we had just a little over a month ago, we had 49 homes on the market, so it's super low. And while the price decreases might be high, with such low inventory, I would say it's gonna introduce some volatility and some bidding wars, at least temporarily. Looking at inventory over time, looks like we're just starting to get to the high water mark that we saw in September. And then sure enough, we had that surge in demand and start bringing things down already. So interesting, so in this market, we didn't really see a big plateau last year, nor did we see a big plateau the year before. But as soon as demand started going down, or as demand started going up, inventory started going down. So we'll see how that all plays out this year. But for now, actually in the last week, we did have a lot of homes, 11 homes taken off the market and only 4 new homes put on the market. Very interesting. Taking a look at condominiums and townhomes in Campbell, average list price is $1.04 million. We've got $713 a square foot and 21 days on the market. So once again, similar to that graph that we just looked at, actually, it looks like median days on market are increasing, that price competition is decreasing in Campbell. What I can also tell you is, especially with an inventory this low of 14, we're definitely gonna see some volatility. So keep an eye out for that. Looking in past years, our inventory levels are significantly lower than last year. So we're on a 90-day average of 20. Last year was about 27. It's a little bit lower. I guess it's just so small that you see that volatility. But previously it was 34 in 2019 as the 90-day average. So inventory is pretty low. I think that's gonna that's gonna motivate competition throughout the winter. As you can see, every market's a little bit different. They all have relatively low inventory, but on some of them you can see the price increases because there's not enough buyers, and in some other markets there's no price increases, indicating that there is a sudden influx of buyers, which kind of makes sense for the time of year. All right, everyone, thanks for joining me today on the market update. Like I said, it's a crazy market, but make sure you have a good real estate agent by your side to help you navigate it. If you're a seller, it's a great time to think about putting your home on the market. We're seeing a lot of bidding wars. We've had a lot of great seller success stories where we help them remodel their home, get a little extra value out of it, sold it, a couple houses in 7 days or less this year. So let us know if you're interested in that. If you're a buyer, don't be afraid of the competition. We've helped over 30 buyers this year. We know how to beat the competition, how to get the most value, so don't hesitate to reach out. Even if you're not ready to buy right now, if it's a year down the line, you're thinking about the next school for your daughter, or maybe it's a friend, they're thinking about the next school for their daughter, let them know we can help them. Even if it's a year or 2 out, it's important that you start planning now so you can do the budgeting now, you can save the money so that you've got that 10, 15, 20% down payment ready in 2 years' time so that you can, do the moves that you need. All right, so if you need help with any of that planning, any of that process, you know where to find us. Michael Soldano with the Amanda Vang team. Our contact information is below. Don't forget to subscribe to the video and support our channel, and have a great day, guys.